For me with the song Surrounded, I love the part that says, basically, you may think I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It kind of takes me back to parts or to stories in my life, and some personal, but some of friends that have just been doing all the right things, but circumstances or relationships or sicknesses, things have happened to them that by all accounts, looking on the outside, they look like they're surrounded by the mess or whatever it is. I was going to say anxiety or depression, sickness, whatever it is. So on the outside looking in, it looks like they're surrounded by all this mess of life. And as I've been reading through the Old Testament and hearing about like when people have gone to battle, like the Lord's people have gone to battle, how like in Jericho, like he asked for them to march around. So like you have these warriors who are marching, which isn't really how you fight a battle, right? But God had them to march around until he was ready, right? And then he gave them the victory. And there's another where he told the men, just stay until you, like I picture in my head like this wind comes through the trees, and then when they hear that, when they sense that wind or that movement, that's when God's ready for them to go. You know, so it seems like, again, you have these warriors just waiting in the woods, and when God's ready, he fights that battle for you. And it just reminded me that even when we seem like we're surrounded by circumstances or mess, we're fighting a battle a different way because we have Christ who's fighting for us, and he goes ahead of us. And sometimes the timing doesn't line up with our timing, and it may not feel exactly right, but his time is always right. And it doesn't mean as Christians that it always goes our way or we always win the battle the way that we think we should win the battle. But in hindsight, I've been able to look at situations in my life where I have felt surrounded, and God comes at the right time, like in that rushing wind, you know, and I look back and it didn't always go my way, but I always saw him. And I think as a Christian, we get to the point where that's enough. You didn't have to win the battle in the way that the world sees you winning the battle. We fight our battles a different way. And I love that about that song.
It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. Thank you, Lord. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. And this is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. This is how I fight. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. This is how I fight. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. This is how I fight. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. This is how I fight. It may look like I'm surrounded.